The Balls and Strikes podcast is brought to you by Elkhorn Training Camp. Let's have some fun and play ball.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Alessandro, co-founder and managing partner of the Elkhorn Training Camp. I am excited to be here today on the Balls and Strikes podcast, joined by Mr. Aaron Polensky. What we like to do here on the Balls and Strike podcast is talk about the wonderful game of baseball, interesting stories, and most importantly, highlight locally grown talent and their journey through the very challenging game of baseball. So welcome, Aaron. How are you today?
Mike, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, of course, you can see I'm rocking the Dodgers jersey because we're on the start of spring training here. Aaron's off to the New York Yankees spring training camp. And we always dream as baseball fans that it's a New York Yankees, Los Angeles Dodgers World Series. So this is good karma. And hopefully the Yankees will come through on the American League side. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. And thanks, Aaron, for making the time. So let's talk about your journey, right?
Yep.
Let's talk about what you have done in baseball, the path that you've been on, and most importantly for our listeners, how hard, the game of baseball is, the good things you've been through, the challenging things you've been through, and most importantly, the opportunity that's in front of you. So let's kind of start. Born and raised here in the Omaha Papillion area. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Excellent. When did you start playing baseball?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question. Baseball's always been a part of my family.
Sure.
So my dad, Jim Polensky, he played college baseball at UNO, transferred to Creighton, finished his career there. Had three older brothers that all played baseball. So, I've been playing baseball since I could walk. My first baseball game was in the backyard with my brothers, my cousins and stuff like that. So I've always been playing baseball one way or another. But I guess it officially started when I was 8. So I never played any T-ball, nothing, coach pitch like that. My first organized, league or whatever was the Papillion Rec organization when I was 8.
Sure.
So then after that, 9s through 14s played select and stuff like that.
So not optional in your family, right?
Well, they gave us the option, but it was kind of out there that baseball was going to be the wisest choice, I guess.
Sure. So at age 8, when you look back at the start of, your baseball career, who was the best in the family?
Well, whenever people ask that question, I usually just say, I'm the one that's still playing. So
There you go. Great answer. Well, let's talk a little bit about your experience in youth baseball, right? Because, the baseball journey, it doesn't start, when you're in high school, right, or in college. Let's talk about some of the experiences you had at the youth level. Did you play select ball? Were you coached by your dad? Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Yeah. So when I was 8 in rec ball, I was coached by my dad.
Okay.
I actually played a year with my brother, Ben. He's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
So it was like the 9s and 10s age group or whatever, but I played when I was 8.
Okay.
And then when I was 9 years old, I played for the Papillion Monarchs, just in, the Papillion Select organization.
Sure.
My dad was not my coach, but then 10s through 14s, my dad was my coach. So pretty much for most of my career, my dad was coaching me, in one way or another, whether he was the official head coach or even when I was in high school, he always was showing me BP, giving me baseball advice. So one way or another, my dad's pretty much always been my coach.
Sure. Absolutely. So when you look back at it, I know you're going to be humble, but be honest with us, between those ages of 10 and 14, you're the best kid on the team?
Well, I was in the lineup every day, usually hitting somewhere between, 1 to 5. So,
Sure.
I was a pretty good player. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, what was your best experience of youth select baseball? I have a son that plays youth select baseball. There's a lot of good things, right? And sometimes things get interesting on occasion, right? So talk to us about, the good that you experienced.
Yeah, playing youth sports, it's just great, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, whatever. It's always great playing youth sports because it gives you a sense of teamwork, working together with people. You get to make some friends at a young age.
Absolutely.
And, just the athletic competition, it's, good for your physical health, your mental health. Competition is a great thing. So youth sports, youth baseball especially, just made some friends, had a ton of fun, playing baseball, learning the game. So I had a great time in youth sports.
Excellent. Did you play other sports while you were growing up?
So my only other sports was backyard football, driveway basketball. So growing up, my only organized sport was baseball.
Okay.
But I was familiar with all the sports, just like I said, my three older brothers, whether it was my choice or not, we were playing something on some day. So very athletic family, always doing something. Even today, My brothers, they're in a tennis league. I would be in the tennis league if I didn't play professional baseball. But they're in a tennis league, so they're staying active. My brother Sam, he's a teacher at Papio South. So we'll go to the gym and play some basketball,
Sure.
or even my uncle, he, every winter he floods his backyard and we play hockey back there.
There you
So
go. That's awesome.
So sports is just ingrained in our family.
Excellent. Well, I think this is timely on Monday. High school baseball tryouts start out, here in Nebraska. Talk to us about what you remember, right, when you were obviously going into Papio South as a freshman. What was it like for you during tryouts? What was your mindset like?
Yeah. So going into tryouts, I just wanted to make a good impression. Obviously I had 3 older brothers that went to the school, so all the coaches knew who I was.
Okay.
They knew that I was a good player. But I always kind of wanted to get away from having my brothers' careers and my brothers'
Sure.
lives were to define what I was going to be. So I wanted to kind of make my own impression, not just like, oh yeah, your brothers were this way, so you're going to be this way. Even though for the most part it kind of was that way, I still wanted to do it.
Sure.
I still wanted to do it myself.
Absolutely.
I didn't want anything handed to me. So
That's right.
I worked hard. I always made sure that I was always giving better effort than the guy next to me, always doing an extra thing, just doing whatever I can to separate myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about, I believe you started on the varsity as a sophomore. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about, your high school experience playing at Papio South. You obviously had numerous accolades, but talk to us a little bit about the journey, How was it, when you were a sophomore versus when you were a senior?
Yeah, so as a sophomore, my older brother Ben, again, I actually played with him. He was a senior when I was a sophomore. But as a sophomore, I started pretty much every game. I played quite a bit. I definitely was nervous when I first started because I'm the young guy. I'm sophomore in varsity. It happens. It's not super common. There's
Sure.
maybe 1 or 2 sophomores on a varsity team. But I was nervous, but I still gave it my all. I learned from the older guys. Watch how they work and stuff like that. Is something that I still do. Spring training, seeing veterans. I still learn from them. But being a sophomore, I wasn't necessarily the one that everybody looked up to. It was more me looking up to them.
Yeah, sure.
So I just kind of watched how they went about their business. So that way, by the time I was in a role of leadership, as a junior, as a senior, I was a little more prepared. And, especially me as a senior, I had been there the longest, because I was on varsity as a sophomore.
Yep.
I was able to, do the things that I had learned from, my brother, my teammates and stuff like that, so that I could then make an impact on the younger players.
Sure, absolutely. Who were your role models when you were playing in high school? Obviously, we're all impacted by, our parents, our dads typically have coached us. Talk to us a little bit about, who were your mentors and your role models during your time at Papio South?
Yeah. So first and foremost, definitely my dad. And my dad actually did help with the varsity team when I was there, like on the team. He was just volunteer coach.
Sure.
But definitely my dad, he still throws me batting practices today. Like, he literally threw batting practice to me earlier today. So he's just the best. Any baseball question that I would have, he would give me a great answer. So definitely my dad. Another one is my oldest brother, Caleb. He played at Papio South. He had a career at UNO.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he had a short little indie ball stint. I think he played in Indiana, but I don't remember the team. But definitely him. And I still get a lot of advice from him today. I actually trust him, up there even more so than some of my current coaches. Don't tell him I said that, but it's just the older brother. I look up to him.
Sure.
So I would say those two are my biggest role models, I would say.
Awesome. Well, we know baseball is a game of failure. It's a game of fighting through adversity, right? Especially, trying to get to the level that you're at in your professional career. Talk to the listeners a little bit about maybe a time you were knocked down, right? Not necessarily physically, but when you had some challenging times during your high school career.
Yeah. I remember when I was a senior, so I had already committed to play at Southeast Community College.
Sure.
I committed in the winter before my senior year.
Okay.
But I remember, so going into that season, I really, really wanted to be All-State. I wanted to not only show that I was, going to go on and play the next level, I want to show that I was the best at this level. Didn't have a great, I had a good senior spring, but I wasn't all state. I got the honorable mention, stuff like that. We didn't make the state tournament. And that I took that personal, being a senior, this is supposed to be my year. Like, we were supposed to at least make it to state. We wanted to make a run at the state championship, but we didn't even make it to state. So then in between the spring and the summer, I really took it on myself to, I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to work harder than everybody. I'm going to show that we need to get to state or to the state tournament, state championship. So I pushed my games to the next level. I had a great senior summer, even though, I wouldn't necessarily, we had a great team, like talent wise, we played above our ability all summer. We had, for what we had and what we were working with, I would definitely say we overachieved. We made the state tournament. We won a game. So we started off 1-0. We ended up losing our next 2 games, but just that whole process of grinding through, I just think it really set me up for success in my college and now professional career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always gratifying when you exceed, right, the quote unquote ability that a particular team or ability that people think you have. When you overachieve, that's always more gratifying than just meeting, what you're supposed to do. Right. Talk to us a little bit about your college recruitment. I know you you started off your college journey at Southeast Community College, but what was the recruitment process like for you? Was it enjoyable? Was it frustrating? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I wasn't very heavily recruited out of high school.
Okay.
I got, a couple letters, when I was a sophomore and a junior, but nothing that was, like super serious. I only went on one visit, Southeast Community College. I only got one scholarship, Southeast Community College. I talked to a handful of schools and stuff like that, but I was not super heavily recruited. I didn't go to a ton of camps and everything. And I still don't, necessarily think that camps are, the best way. On the field talent and, how hard you work is going to be the most important thing, in my opinion. But yeah, I would say I was overlooked, especially because, like I said, I only got the one scholarship. But I was definitely discouraged, before signing, because I was like, man, am I going to go and play college? Because, not very many schools are talking to me. But, obviously I'm super happy with my decision, super happy that I did go to Southeast, and, grateful for that opportunity that I had.
Absolutely. So what advice would you have to some of the young players out there that, aren't getting all the recruiting calls that they would expect, right? What would you like to share with them?
Yeah, definitely number one is, you're not going to get anywhere without working hard.
Yeah.
So if you're lazy, if you don't want to, get extra swings or whatever, that's some of the biggest separating factors right there. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're, there's that old saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
That's right.
So just finding ways to separate yourself, one, is very important. Two, there's it's called like reverse recruiting. You can send out emails to coaches, you can send out, stuff like that, or, attending camps. I've already kind of said, how I feel about that, but, just not giving up. And then, when you do get your opportunities on the field, just make the most of it. As long as you do your best, there's nothing you can hang your head about. Strikeouts are going to happen, errors are going to happen, whatever, things like that. But, just making the most of your opportunities is very important.
Sure, absolutely. You obviously had a great productive season at Southeast Community College that led to the recruitment that Red School down in Lincoln. So talk to us about, when Nebraska reached out to you, and then obviously you played pretty much, I think you played in every game at Nebraska for 2 straight years. So talk to us about how you ended up at the Big Red and a few of the highlights of your career.
Yeah, so I remember it was right after the last game of the season at Southeast Community College. It was actually on the bus ride home. My coach, Deion Parks, he, called me up to the bus. He goes, Aaron, hey, I want to talk to you. He goes,
that can mean one of two things, right?
Yeah. So yeah, he says, got a call from Nebraska. They, Darren Erstedt at the time was a coach. He goes, he wants to call you. He wants to set up a recruit visit, stuff like that. And I was super excited.
Absolutely.
I'm from Nebraska. I want to play for Nebraska.
Sure.
I had a couple other, like, I guess, phone calls with other teams and coaches and stuff like that. Right. Yeah. And I'm not saying I didn't take them seriously. I did. But Nebraska's different. I'm
Sure.
from Nebraska. I remember I went on a visit, like a week or two after the season was over, something like that. Committed very shortly after.
Sure.
So I was just super excited to go to Nebraska.
Absolutely. I mean, you achieved all Big Ten honors. I think you, like I already mentioned, you played in every game, but you also took care of things in the classroom, right? Weren't you academic all Big Ten as well?
I was. Yeah.
Awesome. So talk to the audience about, kind of the importance of that aspect too, right? Because I think as you're trying to get to the professional level, they look at all aspects of your character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, if you got to be faithful in the little things, like
Sure.
if you're skipping classes, if you're turning assignments in late, like that doesn't go unnoticed. If your character is not, coming through when nobody's looking, how do you expect to come through when people are looking? It's like integrity. So, taking care of the little things are definitely important, and school is one of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the highlight of your Nebraska career?
Oh man, highlight of my Nebraska career.
Didn't you hit like a bomb against, was it Oklahoma State?
Well, I would say that's the highlight, but we ended up losing that game. It still sucks.
Right.
So
it was still a bomb.
It was a bomb. Yeah. Yeah.
So, no, seriously, what other highlights you'd like to mention?
I mean, playing for Erstad was great. He,
awesome. What a grinder, right?
Oh, absolutely. He MLB All-Star, stuff like that. I mean, that was awesome. But I got it. In terms of highlights, it was I was on second base.
Okay.
We were playing Illinois. It was, I'm pretty sure, a Saturday game. I was on second base. It was either bottom of ninth or an extra innings. Joe Acker was hitting, tie ball game.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there were 2 outs. Base hit through the 5-6 hole, and I score the walk-off run. And I just remember celebrating with my teammates on the field, throwing water bottles and stuff. It was that was awesome.
That is great. That is great. Well, talk to us a little bit about then the phone call that you got, right, from the Yankees, I believe, right? It was unexpected. Were you working at maybe Amazon?
I was.
All right. So talk to us about just the feeling of that phone call and how it got to where you're at now.
Yeah. So I had talked to a couple of scouts, from different teams. But I remember I was delivering packages for Amazon. I was doing that after the 2020 season because weren't playing baseball and I had to do something. I remember I get a phone call. It's an unknown number. I assumed it was a team because especially in the last week I was talking to a few. Answer the phone. He's like, hey. His name's Matt Ranson, the scout that signed me. He goes, hey, Matt Ranson, New York Yankees. Whatever. And I was just like, oh my god, I put the car in park right here. Let's pull over for a second. It was awesome. It was just awesome. Yeah.
When was that?
It was in 2020, probably April or May, sometime around there.
So is this then? So you're leaving, recently married. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Driving with the wife to Tampa for Yankee spring training on Monday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
What? I mean, from a standpoint of, I guess, expectations in your mind. What do you? I'm just in awe of someone going to New York Yankees spring training. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, number one is just getting there. So it's a 2-day journey. We're going to stop halfway overnight. Me and my wife, Ariel. And then, official camp starts on the 6th, but we got to be there the 3rd, do some physical stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I'm just expecting to work,
Absolutely.
Going to spring training.
Is this your 3rd one or 2nd?
Is my 3rd spring training.
3rd spring training.
Yep.
Okay.
So, I'm going there expecting to work, finding, like what I was saying earlier, finding anything that I can do to separate myself, whether it's, we're, doing a sprint, I'm going to give more effort than the guy next to me, or, maybe it's in the cage, I'm going to take another swing, versus, the guy next to me, I'm going to do whatever I can to separate myself, just to make myself as, as attractive of an option, to, be put on AA roster, AAA, whatever, just doing whatever I can to make myself valuable. Have
you solidified on a position, or are you kind of open to, several?
Like playing position?
Yeah.
So I've only played left field and right field.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much expecting that I'm going to be in, splitting time between one of those 2 spots.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm a left fielder. I'm a right fielder.
Sure.
I would just say I'm a quarter outfielder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. What's the biggest thing that you've noticed? Obviously, you're around the best players in the world. What what surprised you the most?
I mean, really, it's just the professionalism,
Interesting.
You got, some high school kids, college kids, I'm not saying they don't work hard. But in professional baseball, like, it's their job.
That's right.
Like, if you're not working, like, you're going to get fired.
Yeah.
So just the way that they go about their business, they put focus and intensity into every rep. I'm not saying that, they're like forcing themselves to exhaustion every time. It's just like laser focus. It's like, this swing, I'm going to focus on this right here and I'm going to execute it. Even if it's not even a good hit, like, you still got to, execute your stuff. So it's just putting the intent into each rep.
Absolutely. So how do you avoid being starstruck? You're getting ready to hit BP and let's say you're following Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not just sit there and gaze and just wonder, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right. These guys are pretty good.
Right. I got to remind myself I'm a professional too.
That's right.
I'm not a big leaguer. I haven't been there yet, so I can't say I'm a big leaguer. But I got to remind myself that like if I don't believe that I belong, nobody's going to believe that.
There you go.
So I just got to, I have to, again, remind myself that I'm a professional and prove to myself, prove to everybody that I do belong.
Yeah. Do you have goals for this year?
I got some goals. I would just like to be playing more. I haven't played a whole. I guess I would say I haven't been an everyday starter.
Sure.
That would be a goal this year.
Right. High single A last year?
Yep, I was in high A last year. I'm not necessarily so concerned on where I go. I just want to be.
You want the reps.
Right. I want the reps. Like, looking in the lineup, like, I almost want it to be surprised. Oh, I'm not playing today. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I want to be in there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, congratulations again, for a fantastic baseball journey. It's obviously, just starting at the professional level for you. I guess in wrapping up for our listeners, there's a lot of kids out there, right, that have the same dream that you're pursuing. What'd you tell that kid right now that's in high school that might be experiencing some challenges or they have a little doubt? I mean, you're a local kid. It's just proven that, these opportunities can open up with performance and hard work. What advice do you have for kids?
I would just say, just love the game.
Yeah.
If you don't love the game, it's going to be really hard for you. I've seen some miserable guys. They just seems like they lost the love of the game. Number 2, have fun.
Yeah.
Love the game, have fun. And then just be working hard. Like I was talking about being faithful in the little things. Just putting the work in. And just being patient. Wait for your opportunity, and when your opportunity comes, take it.
Absolutely. What do they say? The best, preparation, when preparation meets opportunity, right? That's when special things happen, right?
Yeah.
So thanks again for joining the Balls and Strikes podcast today. We're cheering for you from Omaha. Safe travels to Tampa and all the best, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.